Hey, yo, what's decent? Yo, I want to post this match before I get to the 4th gym match that I was supposed to have. A lot of people have been requesting me to do a Coliseum match, hence the order of which I've been posting particular matches. I've had the Pokemon Stadium 2, as well as the Pokemon Coliseum. So I guess respectively in the order in which the Pokemon came out, which would be like Red, then Gold, then Ruby and Sapphire, then Diamond respectively. Battle Revolution would have been next, but I just want to post this one in that order because I've had this one before I had the one on Battle Revolution. So my opposition, as you guys did see, let's get to the battle, led out with Ninetales. I'm going to lead out respectively with Hypno, but unfortunately for me, he's going to reveal that he has the Fire Spin. I'm going to go out into my Poliwrath and then switch right back out into my Hypno just to scare the Ninetales out. I could probably get a paralysis state on whatever he decides to switch out into. That's actually my ideal right now. I don't want to set the Poliwrath this early in the game. In comes his Venusaur. Venusaur happens to be faster than me, so if he goes to the Sleep Powder, I hope he doesn't hit, and unfortunately for me, he does. Man, that would have been awesome if I would have got off a nice little Thunder Wave, and or if he like switched out. My Camtasia Studio acted a little weird actually during the recording, so it's actually going to skip a few turns. I stayed in as he went for the Swords Dance, is what you guys missed, and then afterwards I just woke up and decided to switch out to my Sandslash for Sleep Fodder. So now I know he's going to want to go for the Sleep Powder again. He does just that, which is perfect. I hope this time it hits so I can get a safe switch out into my Charizard. If he wants to go for like something like the Razor Leaf for the Body Slam, it won't do as much damage to my Charizard as it would like my Sandslash. And plus on my Charizard I do have the Fire Spin, so now my Charizard will be faster as long as he doesn't go the paralysis with the Body Slam respectively if he's carrying the Body Slam. But unfortunately for him, he goes for the Razor Leaf. I quad resist that, and since I'm faster, I'm able to go for the Fire Spin and potentially just finish this thing off, provided that I continue hitting my Fire Spins, because he can't do anything. Like, he can't respond to me at all. Moves like Bind, Fire Spin, and Wrap acted in that state in 1st gen. Like, if you went first and used Wrap and used Bind, used Fire Spin, your opposition was not able to make a move, during the next turn. And also, a nice little trick to know is that you can actually use Wrap, Bind, and Fire Spin if you want to get a safe switch. Like I just did, I went for the Fire Spin and I just switched right back out into my Hypno. Provided that he can't put anything else to sleep, I'm able to stay in and get off a Thunder Wave, finally off on that Venusaur, paralyze it, and I'm thinking maybe I should either go for the rest, the Psychic, and or another Thunder Wave, predicting him to switch out, because I know he wouldn't really want to stay in with the Venusaur, provided that I do have the Poliwrath. And what I mean by that is that Venusaur takes care of both Poliwrath as well as my Sandslash. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that he would be able to bring in his Raichu onto my Poliwrath and or his Dugtrio onto my Poliwrath. My Sandslash can take those heavy physical hits that Raichu as well as Dugtrio will be able to inflict on my Sandslash, because Lord knows that Raichu is not inflicting any kind of electrical attacks onto my Sandslash, and there's little to nothing that Dugtrio can do against Sandslash anyway. So Venusaur is utmost important. I figured that he would want to switch out anyway to save it for later on. Instead of going for a secondary Psychic and finishing off the Venusaur and sending it back to the floors for a touch-up, I decided to go and use Rest as he switches out into his Onix. Now, even though that's his choice, I don't necessarily know interpersonally why anybody would use Onix over Graveler. I mean, Golem is OU, so you can't use Golem in a UU match, but Onix does, I guess, in retrospect, now that I'm thinking more about it, does have access to Bind. So Bind is like one of those annoying moves like Fire Spin and Wrap that I was explaining a little bit earlier on, which just keeps going and going and going, provided that Onix is faster than the opposition. So I guess that's why you would use Onix, but overall, Graveler does have a higher base attack, is faster, things like that. Very important factors that it has over Onix. So now I'm just going to switch right back into my Poliwrath, thinking that this is the perfect opportunity to set up the Poliwrath as he doubles back out into his Vaporeon. Just going to flex my muscles as I increase my special ×2. Vaporeon is going to respond back with a Blizzard, and unfortunately for him, despite all that spread projectile, none of it is going to touch Poliwrath right now. So now I'm free to set up another Amnesia. I'm looking great right now. Man, Venusaur is paralyzed. Raichu after a while won't be able to do anything despite electrical attacks being super effective damage against my Poliwrath. He's just going to respond back with a Body Slam, and Body Slam unfortunately does paralyze me. So what I'm going to do now is, because I'm paralyzed and I know that Poliwrath is slower than Venusaur, I would think that he might probably try to double back, and when I saw him switching, I'm like, Venusaur, 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 and he does just that, because I actually went for the Blizzard. I didn't want to go for the Bubble Beam because I actually wanted wanted to show this guy that yes, I did actually predict your switch right into Venusaur. Venusaur is gonna bite the dust. Bubble Beam would have been able to finish it off anyway. It's more accurate, 100% accurate, and plus since I'm +4, Venusaur at that particular amount of HP wouldn't have been able to survive the Bubble Beam. But like I said before, I wanted to show him that I did in fact predict that switch out into Venusaur, because Venusaur would have still been helpful to him in that sense, when doing more damage to the Poliwrath, since my Poliwrath did score a paralysis status onto it. Now in comes the scary thing. I know this thing has access to Drill Peck and a whole bunch of stuff like say Hyper Beam and things like that. Hopefully I'm able to make a move. He goes straight for the double edge, I guess predicting to switch out for me to save my Poliwrath for later on. It still does a little bit of a damage, but not enough to substantially score a 2-hit KO, as it falls just short of doing just that. And it kind of puzzles me a little bit why he didn't go for the Drill Peck over going for double edge. Not only does it score recoil damage, but I have nothing on my party that resists flying type moves, and it would have been advantageous for him to go for the Drill Peck over the double edge in this case scenario. Not that it really even matters in this case scenario, since I'm able to respond back with a blizzard and finish that clown off. In this case scenario, I'm sorry Dodrio, but 1 head is definitely superior to 3. So sorry about that, buddy. But anyway, he's gonna respond back by bringing in his Raichu after his Dodrio bites the dust. And even though Raichu obviously deals super effective damage onto my Poliwrath with his electrical type attacks, being that I do have the +4, I feel confident that I'm able to respond back with my Poliwrath with my water type attacks and finish this clown off. I mean, look how much Thunderbolt does. I have +4, so it's not going to do as much as he would idealistically want Thunderbolt to do, and I'm going to respond back with a Bubble Beam. Bubble Beam is a 2-hit KO, believe it or not. Next time, I'm going to want to use Water Gun to see how much Water Gun does. I'm going to like dwindle it down a little bit, like maybe a +6 with Bubble, just to see how much that does to like potential threats such as this thing. That is utterly amazing. I should probably have like the rest to like add insult to injury in the future. So Thunderbolt is not going to be able to two-shot me. That is nuts. A Poliwrath living 2 electrical type attacks like simultaneously, consecutively, like instantaneously, destroying this Raichu. I'm using the wrong words, but Jesus Christ. Like, one cannot hold its excitement when it finishes off something with Bubble Beam. What do you want me to do? That's... what the hell just happened? That's where my mind is right now. Like, what, honestly, like, what the hell just happened? Like, I just finished off 3 clowns with the Poliwrath. +4, that's amazing. So in comes Ninetales to finish up the job that Raichu did start on my Poliwrath. Hypothetically speaking, he could go for the Confuse Ray and have me Power Fuse, and I could smack myself into Oblivion myself, but that's kind of risky, because if he went for that, there's a probability that would not be affected by the confusion for that turn, and then respond back with the Bubble Beam and finish him off, but he doesn't take any chances. He goes for the Body Slam, and that's going to be more than enough, obviously, to finish off the Poliwrath. I'm going to switch in my perfect go-between, which is my Clefable. That's like the perfect Pokemon for me to switch in, to take hits, to do a whole bunch of stuff. It has like the Thunder Wave. The whole purpose of my team is like to paralyze as much threats as possible. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna see what he wants to do. He's gonna go for absolutely nothing. He just fully paralyzed this turn as I switch into Charizard. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna switch into my boy Victory Bell, because I know that he has the Onyx left over, and if he does bring in the Onyx, I could actually get a for free Swords Dance and start rap killing his Ninetales. So that'll be like a free Swords Dance if he does happen to switch out into his Onyx. He doesn't do that. He stays straight in and goes for the Body Slam. So it's like, whoa, I'm like in an unfavorable position right now, because I do have my boy Victory Bell in play. So what I'm gonna do, instead of switching out right away, I'm just gonna go for the Wrap. Like I was saying before, you can use Wrap, Fire Spin, Bind to like switch out to save yourself, to save your Pokemon from taking damage when you do happen to switch out, which is what's gonna happen right now. So now I'm just gonna go back into my Charizard, state switch. The game kind of reads it as the Pokemon can't move, so literally you can't move while I'm switching out. So if any viewers are planning on playing first gen in the future, keep in mind that that's a nice tidbit to know during battle. I'm going to respond with the Earthquake on the Ninetales, which is an easy 2-hit KO. He's going to respond back with the Body Slam, scoring the Paralysis State on my Charizard, which affords the Ninetales to continue to be faster than my Charizard, so he's free to go for the Confuse Ray if he wants to. I'm going to decide to switch out into my boy Clefable, because since my Charizard is paralyzed, he's free to go out and use Onyx, and Onyx can obviously score a super effective Rock Slide on my Charizard. Charizard. I don't want that happening just as yet. So if I go into my boy Clefable, I can inflict some blizzard damage on the Onix, and if he goes out into Vaporeon, I can go and use Thunder Wave, which would afford Vaporeon a paralysis state, which will obviously make it slower than things like Charizard. It's already slower than my Victory Bell, so I won't have to worry about it as much as I would if Vaporeon wasn't paralyzed. And that's perfect because he does happen to actually go out into his Vaporeon. Vaporeon does score a paralysis state, which is awesome, as he inflicts a blizzard trying to get a freeze on my Clefable. As you guys know, in first gen, if you score a freeze on a certain Pokemon, that Pokemon under no circumstances, unless you're like in the game and using a full restore, is not going to be thawed out for any reason. You could like do all the Fire Blast that you want on the frozen Pokemon. It's not going to get thawed out at all. So now I'm going to go for a secondary Thunder Wave, which is a complete mistake because his Ninetales is fully paralyzed. Onix is obviously not affected by electric type attacks, as well as his remaining Pokemon being Vaporeon is fully paralyzed right now. So I'm just going to go for the Psychic. Luckily for me, his special attack and his special defense falls in one fell swoop after I flick the Psychic onto the Vaporeon. He goes for the Body Slam, desperately trying to score a paralysis state on my Clefable. Not that it even really matters in this case scenario because my Clefable does have access to rest. I am going to go for the rest pretty soon actually, as he switches out into his Ninetales right now, and he's like, crap, this dude has rest on everything. That's the purpose of me having a Hypno as well as me having the Clefable. Both Pokemon serve as go-betweens. They have both Thunder Wave, Rest, and they both have Psychic, to be honest with you. The only move that's like missing is like the Seismic Toss. One has Seismic Toss, and the other one has like Blizzard. So yeah, that's kind of the purpose of those two Pokemon, and they kind of work each other's weaknesses. But unfortunately for me, what's going to happen is Camtasia Studio is going to cut out the rest of the recording, so I'm going to have to explain what happens. I finish off the Ninetales with my Charizard with the Earthquake, and afterwards he brings in his Vaporeon, me thinking that he was going to think that I was going to switch out into my Victory Bell and go for the Blizzard. I set up a Sword Stance, but he finishes me off with the Surf, and then afterwards I bring in my boy Victory Bell, set up a Sword Stance on that thing, and then proceed to Wrap Kill both Onix as well as Victory Bell to death. So if you guys take away all the times that I was using Wrap against his Vaporeon as well as his Onix before I finished both off with the Razor Leaf, you guys would be up to like 5 turns out of the video. So the video did cut out like near the end of the battle, so don't worry, you guys didn't miss so much. I'm sorry that the video did happen to cut out. Peace, what you doing?